Do you know your debt payoff date? Or when you're going to retire? How about how much you need to save in order to have a cash Christmas next year? If you don't know the answers to these questions, then it's time that we set some financial goals for 2021. Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. You cannot expect what you do not inspect. If you aren't willing to take the time to write out your goals in a very specific and measurable way, then basically what you're telling the universe is that you're okay with just accepting whatever scraps life has to throw at you. I know that's not what you want for your life. So take 10, 15 minutes, even an hour if you need to sit down and really think about what it is you want to achieve for next year that's gonna get you closer to your long-term goals. When we're talking about that on a financial level, then we need to attack it from a few angles. If you have debt, you'll need to set a debt goal. You'll need to set short-term savings goals. And then of course, you'll need to set a long-term savings goal. Before we get into what those goals will look like, I want to talk about how you set the right type of goals. Now, you may have heard of SMART goals before. So I want to go into it real quickly so that we have a good foundational base before we move on to the next step. SMART goals stand for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. What that means is when you set goals, you want it to be very specific. You don't want to just say, I want to pay off my debt. What does that mean? How much debt do you have? We need an actual number. For most people, we're probably not going to pay off all of our debt next year. So then you want to be more specific. Can you pay off one of your debts? Can you pay off $1,000 of your debt or $10,000 of your debt? You've got to be very, very specific. Now, measurable. Again, when you can put numbers down, it's really easy to measure whether you've hit that goal or not. You want to be able to look at that goal and know that by the time December 31st, 2021 rolls around, you can look at your goal and say, yes, I hit it, or no, I didn't, because you were able to measure it. Now, the attainable part is really important. You don't want to set big outlandish goals that are impossible to reach because you're never going to reach them. And when something is too impossible, then you won't even try. For example, if you have $25 a month to put towards your debt, it's not going to be attainable to set a goal that you're going to apply an extra $10,000 next year towards your debt. I mean, unless you have that and you've just decided to only put $25 all this time. But realistically, $25 extra is $300 a year. So you need to stick within that range because that's attainable. Now, relevant means that you want the goal to be aligned with your overall big goal. You don't want to set a goal that you're going to rack up $5,000 in credit card debt. Yes, that's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, but it's not relevant to your big goal of becoming debt-free. So it's really important to make sure your goals are relevant to your ultimate purpose. And then you want it to be time-based. Are you going to achieve this goal in 30 days, 6 months, a year, 10 years? You can start off with your big major goals that are later down the road, and then you can scale them back and create baby goals that you can fit within 2021 so that we can measure them by the end of next year. So now that we understand what SMART goals are and that is what our goals are going to look like, let's go ahead and dive into the 3 different types of goals that we're going to create for our financial game plan. 1, if you have debt, you need to set some debt goals. What is your big long-term debt goal? For most of us, it's to be debt-free, right? Now, if you want to be debt-free, there's usually steps involved to get there. How many different types of debt do you have? Do you have a mortgage, student loans, credit cards, car payment, personal loans? If you have different types, then we need to take a look at those, look at the interest rates, and decide how we're going to tackle the payoff plan. Now, I made a video about this on the debt snowball versus the debt avalanche methods of paying off your debt, and I really encourage you to take a look at those and watch that video so that you can learn what would be the best plan for you. Now, once you've decided how you're going to tackle your debt payoff plan, you can then set goals for what you want to achieve for next year. Maybe your goal is to add an extra $5 or $15 or $25 a month to your debt payoff plan. Maybe your goal is to pay off your debt down to a certain amount. Perhaps your credit cards are at $8,000 and you want the balance to be under $5,000 by the end of the year. Just decide what is reasonable, set that goal, and that's going to be your 2021 goal. Second, when it comes to setting your savings goals, what I'm about to tell you may not sound exactly like what you hear from most prominent financial advisors out there, but I'm telling you from my own personal experience, if you do not take these actions now, you're going to regret it later. I am not in the camp of focusing solely on paying off your debt before you focus on any type of savings. In my very first Money Mondays video, I talk about the rule of 72 and the power of compound interest. The most powerful asset that you have to work for you on this journey to financial independence is time. And once time is gone, you can never get it back. And the only way to make up time is with a lot of money. So unless you know that you're going to be quadrupling your income over the course of your lifetime, I highly recommend you take advantage of the time that you have right now to make the investments that you need to achieve your goals for the future. All right, with that said, what I'm proposing here is for you to make a full focus on your long-term investment strategy. If you start at 25 years old with $0 and all you want is to retire at 65 and live off the exact same amount of money that you are living off of at 25 years old, then you're going to need to save about 11% of your income every single month to do that. So for an example, if you make $40,000 a year at 25 years old and you want to live on $40,000 a year in retirement, that means a retirement nest egg of $1 million. To get $1 million over that 40-year period at a conservative 7% rate of return, then you need to be saving a little over 11% every single month. If you aren't saving anywhere near 11% of your income right now, and you want to retire on what you're making, then you are behind. I don't want to be mean, I don't want to be the bad guy, but this is reality. You are behind. So I highly encourage you to set a goal to start saving what you need to achieve your financial independence number. If you aren't saving 11%, then start setting goals to get there. If saving 11% of your income sounds super scary, I want you to understand something. For people who are paying into a pension plan, government employees, teachers, tradesmen and women, they don't have a choice. No matter what they're making, I was a high school math teacher for 3 years. I can assure you, we weren't getting paid top dollar. And yet, about 7% of my income was taken out and put into the teacher's retirement system, whether I wanted it to or not. So you have to think about your retirement savings as an absolute necessity. Just like you have to have a roof over your head, you have to pay utilities, and you have to eat food, your retirement savings cannot be optional. So if you currently don't have any type of savings going automatically into a retirement account, then one of the goals I am going to implore you to make for 2021 is to get your auto retirement savings up from 0% to at least 5% by the end of the year. I think that that is a very doable goal. It's something that you can increase over time. And by the end of the year, you're up to 5%, and you're gonna be really, really proud of yourself and happy that you made that decision. After you have made that plan to get an automatic savings plan going, then I want you to look at your short-term savings. Do you have an emergency fund? Is there at least $1,000 in there? If not, then you need to set up a plan to get $1,000 into your account as soon as possible. For most Americans, $1,000 cash is enough to cover most emergencies that would come their way. Once you hit that 1,000, you're not done. You want to have at least a year's worth of emergency fund savings to be able to take care of any possible emergency that could come your way. Now, working on these 3 goals alone is a lot, and it can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Just understand that you've got 3 basic goals to set. 1, what is a mini debt goal that you can achieve in 2021? 2, how can you get to saving at least 11% of your income into your retirement plan? And 3, what do you need to do to get towards 1 year of emergency fund savings for this year? I know that I talk about these 3 goals as if you accomplish one, then work on the next one, then work on the next one. But I want to make it very, very clear. You want to set these 3 goals so that you can work on each one of them simultaneously. So when you set that debt payoff goal, and you set the goal to increase your retirement savings, and you set the goal to get to your 1 year of emergency fund savings, these goals must all be able to work together at the same time. So if you have an extra $100 a month to put towards your goals, then you've got to figure out how to divide that $100 3 separate ways in order to achieve all 3 goals simultaneously. Now, if you don't already have a budget, that's going to need to be the first thing that you do so that you can get an idea of where your money is going right now and where you can cut back on your expenses in order to find money to accomplish these financial goals. I made a video that walks you step by step on how to start a budget, and I highly encourage you to watch that video so that you can get your budget prepared. Remember, compound interest is working in each one of these areas. It's working against you in your debt area. It can work for you for retirement, and it can work for you with your emergency fund. Make sure you get the high yield savings account for your emergency fund. I personally use Affirm and I really love them. Make sure that you get your investments into index funds and ETFs, and make sure that you are getting that debt chipped away as much as possible so that that interest isn't working against you. Okay, if you haven't been able to tell, I get really fired up when I talk about setting goals, particularly because it's so easy to do, but what's easy to do is also easy not to do. It's gonna be really easy to finish watching this video and go back doing whatever it is you were doing and forget all about this. But it's also easy to turn off this video, get out a piece of paper and a pen, and start writing your goals down. I want 2021 and beyond to be absolutely amazing for you, and I hope that you take some of these tips that I gave you in order to get you closer to the goals that you have set for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next Monday.